The government officials in Zambia, they made a tour in the dried up Victoria Falls. And the guy who was recording the video, you can hear him in the background saying, hey, you can now stop talking about the propaganda you've been spreading. This is a natural phenomenon. There's no water. That's why there's no electricity.
The biggest problem which salespeople do is trying to just sell your product as it is. To just say, I sell water, I sell a mic, I sell a camera, without necessarily knowing what the customer, the needs of the customer. Sales, you're dealing with human beings. Human beings is a complicated, we are complicated creatures, even more complicated than computers themselves.
Absolutely.
We change attitude. Sometimes the person you think is a friend, he can show you next day that they're not your friend. So the person you think that is about to buy, tomorrow just wakes up and change goalposts.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to your favorite podcast, The Chatted Vendor. And of course, my name is Steve Tadzoka, and I am always joined by The Chatted Vendor,
Hi, Steve.
Mr. Nyazungu. So this is the podcast where we get to look into the business space in Zimbabwe, locally, across the region, as well as internationally, trying to look for stories that we can perhaps borrow meaningful lessons for our entrepreneurs in order to transform our continent, our businesses, and our livelihoods. So yeah, to kickstart the conversation, there's a story that I've picked up. So, between July and now, it's very hot. So what normally happens is the Victoria Falls runs short of water. So people are mixing two stories now. There's a story where, you remember the Zambians, they are crying for electricity. Electricity production has gone down, similarly in Zimbabwe, because the water levels in any water body for thermal stations, they've gone down, right? So the government officials in Zambia, they made a tour in the dried up Victoria Falls. And the guy who was recording the video, you can hear him in the background saying, hey, you can now stop talking about the propaganda you've been spreading. This is a natural phenomenon. There's no water. That's why there's no electricity. So the people who then caught steam of the conversations are Zimbabweans, of course, because there's a long debate on who owns Victoria Falls. Is it Zambian? Is it Zimbabwean? So there's a long debate going on social media. And now people have started pointing out global warming, climate change, to say the Victoria Falls is dried up. Then we have got people who have been actively protecting, defending, and pushing the tourism sector for Africa. They're now coming to say, no, guys, this is now. It always happens. Check their records. They always keep the records. So we've got a group of people who are self-hating and saying this is the end of Victoria Falls, it's now dried up. And then we've got activists and people who are actively trying to sell brand Africa, saying, no, this is one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's a season.
It's a season.
And rarely do you see people coming in to visit now, because the majestic waterfall will not be there. So there's something wrong with the people who are trying to sell the brand Africa, because they're then putting in negativity to it. So that made me to think, you've got an excellent product, you've got an excellent service. What are some of the deadly sins that our salespeople are committing as far as closing a sale for a particular product, particular service is concerned?
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I last went to Vic Falls last year, December, and it was... it was Monsieur Tunya. It was thundering. But it's so sad, like what you are also saying, that we're now facing a lot of challenges in terms of water. But this is now, like what you're saying.
Yeah.
So on that actually gives me to think that when you're looking at it as well, sometimes you might think that you're defending yourself, whilst you're also pushing yourself in the corner. Like, probably you're trying to explain to your customer. That's what some of the mistakes which salespeople make, because they don't know their customers. Sometimes it's about knowing your customer. Who is your client? Well, look at the case of Vic Falls.
Yes.
Who is the customer of Vic Falls?
It's
the tourists.
Yes, the tourists, yeah.
But politicians went there, Zambian politicians went there, trying to sell to the other group of customers, which is the what? The voters.
Yes.
So which one is the most important customer? Because they've got two sides People are buying. You are selling two sides of equals. Someone is selling that there's no water. The other one is saying that there was what? But to just probably correct what is happening in the V4s. Even when it was raining, there was still darkness in Zambia. This darkness didn't start right now. It started way back. But just going to what you have asked is to say, you should actually know the biggest problem which salespeople do is trying to just sell a product as it is. To just say, I sell water, I sell a mic, I sell a camera, without necessarily knowing
what the customer
the needs of the customer. And customers are different. They can be customers from the same industry, but with different needs. Hence, the biggest challenge of most of the salespeople, they fail to ask questions.
In order to know
the customer better. I usually equate it in my seminars as you're supposed to behave like a doctor. When a doctor sees you, they don't assume that you've got a headache. They don't assume that you've got a stomachache. What they first do is they ask you questions. After asking questions, then they prescribe the solution. They don't start with the solution and end with the what? And they know they don't start with the solution to say, no, I'm selling paracetamol. Then you correct them to say, I don't want paracetamol. I'm actually having a stomachache. And definitely I'm never going to trust that doctor. That's what salespeople usually do. They try to sell a narrative without knowing what the customer naturally needs. That's what is happening right now. Whereby they sold a story.
Yes.
But the customers are now reacting differently from what they're actually anticipating.
Yes.
And it's even causing bigger harm.
Very true. And in relation to what you're saying, that the number one mistake that people make, salespeople make actually, is trying to sell the product or service as it is without understanding the needs of the customer. I can relate to a time when if you walked into a clothing store, the moment you walk in and you begin to look maybe in the suits section or maybe the shoes section, there was a shop assistant available. The first question they would ask you is, what type of shoes are you looking for? Then you explain, no, I want to go to a wedding. They told us we need... Then they'll take you to a section where those shoes are.
They can even say, no, not this side. Let's go this side.
Yeah. These days, I've seen the boutiques that are opening, a gazillion of them in our cities. They actually have the clothes written on the shelves that Musabati. I mean, you say, don't touch. But I want to feel the fabric and know
the fabric, exactly.
It's already written Musabati. And the moment you walk in there, they don't even get up to understand what you're looking for. They will see you and wander around their shop whilst they're busy on their phone. The only other time they engage you is when then you ask, how much is this one? That's when they will tell you. And they don't even bother to explain, or even they'll just tell you $18.
Exactly.
How much is this one? $20. The environment will be so tense that you eventually just decide to walk out of that store.
I usually equate it to like what you actually said. Saying, I usually equate it to a comparison between a doctor and a pharmacist. Not to undermine a pharmacist. I'm just saying their roles are different.
Yes.
A doctor is supposed to diagnose. Find if it's a headache. Why are you suffering from a headache?
Yes.
Is it because of your eyes? Is it because you've got a brain tumor? Is it because it's just a migraine headache? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So his duty is to ask you questions. Are you drinking water? Where exactly is the pain? But the pharmacist, when you're going to get into a pharmacy and say, I've got a headache, what they just say is, I've got a lot of options. Which one do you like?
And the comparison is on the price.
And they'll say the other one is $1, the other one is $5, and Anonya Soshanda Acho, it's $10. So which one are you going to buy? So you're going to buy for $1, and you end up continuously feeling that headache. Because why? Then their duty is not to diagnose. So that's the problem now, whereby most of our salespeople are behaving like shopkeepers. They're just shopkeepers. You know the definition that old word is called the shopkeeper. It's not a salesperson. It doesn't have a what I can so professional skepticism. Whereby I have to just ask and say, okay, fine. This person who is visiting here, why is he here? Because when someone is coming into your boutique, definitely they've got a reason why they are there.
They are there, yeah.
Is their wedding? Are they buying a present for their boyfriend? Are they buying a present for their girlfriend? If they're buying a present for their girlfriend, if you're going to assist them with probably a better present than what they're actually thinking of buying, what are they going to think about you? They're going to be loyal customers. So that questioning mind is not there.
It's not there.
So the people are just thinking that sales is easy. When you can smile, you're a salesperson. When you're light in complexion, you're already a salesperson. When you're beautiful, you're a salesperson. But they confuse it. Sales is an art. Sales is knowing the needs of the customers. Address those needs, then you can have a loyal customers. Have you ever noticed that right now when you want to buy probably, let's just say the spares for your car, you know that there's that mechanic or that shop which you know that if you get to that shop, they'll explain fully. And they can even, you can even think that the problem is big, but they can say, no, this is a small problem.
Yes.
You can also even think that is a small problem, but they're honest.
Yes.
And what they do is they ask you questions. When did this problem start? Where do you usually drive? I'm usually in the dust roads. Oh, when you're driving in dust roads, definitely the engine check light is going to come out. So there's nothing to worry about. Because these cars have got sensors. Definitely this is going to happen. You get what I mean?
Yeah, they give you information.
They give you information. And they're like, I'm not trusting this guy. And it's now my go-to because he gives me, like right now I've got my mechanics. I'll tell you, this is the truth. I've got my guys who do mechanics for my cars. But how I got these guys, they came referred by someone else because their father used to do that for us before he passed on during COVID. So the sons came with a different approach altogether. When they came to us, we had, I think 3 cars which are down. So they started looking at those cars. They would give you, you'd understand as a layman what's happening on the car. They would even explain it and it was clear to me. So they went, they fixed the car. We never had those problems again on those cars. So we became so loyal to them. We started giving them our whole fleet, including Mercedes-Benz, including even big cars, which are supposed to be serviced in big garages. Because why? These guys are coming up with all the explanations. They don't steal from you. Sometimes when you even think of, when another mechanic is actually tell you that it's $1,000, they can even say, no, this is just $100 problem. And they'll explain to you after they've asked what? Questions.
And also, maybe whilst we are still on that, let's also speak to the customer. You know, right now we are baking the ideal salesperson and explaining to them how they actually need to engage with the customers. But I've encountered customers who say, I come from the technical space. I'm trying to explain to them how things are working when they click things and then they pop up and whatever. I'm trying to explain to them so that they visualize and also get an idea of how much work we put in the background. And I've seen clients who say, I don't need explanations. I said, I just need to click this button and this works. For example, maybe the example with the cars. They say, I don't need any explanations. I want to turn on this car, the engine starts and I drive off and have no problems. Save your explanations to yourself. I want the car to work. There are clients like that.
Okay.
How then do salespeople who are passionate about the trade and they want to explain and give their customers information, but the customer says, I don't want the information. I just want my problem solved. Don't explain to me. Just do what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know where the problem starts?
Where does it start? It
starts when you start explaining without asking me. Are you really getting it? So the issue is about asking a customer, okay, you want your car to work. Is that fair? Use this kind of words. Is that fair? Yes, it's fair. Okay, fine. So if I'm just going to spend 2 minutes asking you a few questions to understand where the problem actually came from. So we want to know what really happened. We don't want to just probably this problem is going to repeat again. We want to really know what transpired. Is it that fair? Are you able to?
Yeah, absolutely.
May I kindly just ask a question?
Yes, I can.
Then I can now say, okay, fine. If you allow me to ask you questions now, okay, fine. If I may know what really happened to this car, how did the problem start? So fine, okay, thanks. Okay, so what happens now? You cannot explain. So the customer is going to get an insight, whereby they're going to see now to say, oh, it's going to be a Damascus moment whereby they'll say, okay, this is what happened. Then it makes you are now on the same page. So even when you're now demonstrating your software, I now know why you're doing it, and I didn't know it because you explained it to me. I now know that I need to see the demo because you asked me and I saw the reason of attending a demo. It's like when you sell software yourself. You want to demonstrate your software. Someone says, no, I don't care about it. I just want to see my things working. Then you say, may I kindly just asking you a question? Do you want to buy something which you don't know?
Obviously, I'll say, I want to
You
know
get what I
I'm
mean?
buying,
You need to know. What about if you're going to spend a lot of money? I've noticed some of my clients, I've actually assisted a number of clients where they spend $5,000 buying a software which they never saw. And end of the day, it failed to work. What about if I show you how this software is going to work so that you buy something which you know? Is that fair? In sales, usually use those words. Is that fair? Then if they say it's fair, boom.
Then
So
you
it's
go on to
about
explain.
asking. You see, our problem is we want to explain ourselves into a cell. But we are supposed to ask yourself into what? Into a cell. So it's about asking. That's what actually triggers a cell. But the mistake is we want to explain. So if you want to be a good salesperson, start asking.
Start asking the questions.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
even the way you do it in courtship, ask quality questions. Then someone can actually see that this person is intelligent. You can only see that someone is intelligent by the nature of questions they're going to ask you, not by what they're going to tell you.
That's very interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the midsection of our podcast. Stay engaged, and remember, we are celebrating 10 years of existence as M&J, one of our proud sponsors for this podcast, or 10 years of building timeless businesses. And we're gonna skip to an ad. And also, you want to make sure that you're subscribed and also share the video and interact with us in the comments as this podcast is rolling, because you get to stand a chance to win a $100 bill at the end of the month, and we are just a few days away from the month end. Stay tuned.
As we celebrate 10 years of building timeless businesses, M&J would like to take this opportunity to honor and celebrate our valued clients. Over the years, we have grown together, creating partnerships that have transformed dreams into reality.
We don't just celebrate our achievements, we celebrate the trust you've placed in us. Trust that has made us your partners in starting and establishing your companies, and partners in navigating the challenges of business.
We've been your partners in investing in Zambia, South Africa, and other countries, helping you tap into new markets and opportunities for sustainable growth and future.
Partners in ensuring compliance with local laws and regulations, and partners helping you grow sales revenue for your company.
We've also been partners in establishing strong HR policies that will not only help your organization, but will also help you to attract the best talent.
Of course, we've been partners in embracing technology, helping you to acquire and implement the best solutions that can increase your efficiency and productivity in your business.
Here is to many more years of building long-lasting brands, businesses that endure for generations to come. Here is to 10 years of building timeless businesses with M&J.
Have you invested so much into your business, but you're not getting your desired sales? Or you ask yourself whether you are selling the wrong products or services. Maybe you even blame your sales team for not bringing in the money. If your answer to these questions is yes, then you need to revise your sales approach. Selling Like a Vendor is a book that can give you answers to why you have not been making the sales. You can use this book as an individual or for your sales team as a manual on how to make sales. The book has strategies on how to get clients, how to talk to customers, how to negotiate and close the deals, and even how to upsell or cross-sell. This is an investment that can solve all your sales problems. You can order your own copy using the details shown on the screen. Remember, everyone is in sales and sales is for everyone.
Welcome back to the second half of this podcast, and we're having a conversation with the chartered vendor where we are discussing some of the common mistakes that salespeople are making as they're trying to close some sales out there. And already in the first segment, we've covered that. One of the biggest mistakes is not knowing your customer very well and then you end up selling your product or service when you don't fully understand or comprehend what they actually need. So the chat advent, welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's continue with the conversation. What are some of the other mistakes that our salespeople are making out there?
Okay, one common mistake which most of the salespeople make is, people are going to marketing schools. And, like in Africa, there's a common degree, which is this degree of marketing. And we confuse marketing to sales. So employers are also recruiting people with marketing, which is not a problem. But the problem which people think is sales is just like other professions. Accounts, you can do an accounting by profession. You can do accounts, and after 15 years, you are the same principle. It's debit, is credit. It doesn't change. The basics don't change in accounting. The basics don't change when you're a meteorologist. The basics don't change when you're an HR. But sales now, it's more like playing football. So most of our sales people, the biggest mistake which they do is they don't train. By training, what do I mean is, it's when you are a footballer, Messi cannot say, I once scored 91 goals in 2012. Hence, I'm still a very good footballer. What he does is every day is in training. So someone who's in boxing, you look at your Mike Tyson, even at the age of close to 60 years, he's still training for him to be able to compete in the ring. Like right now, I heard that there's a match between him and, is it Jack Paul, the poor guy?
Yeah.
But what I'm just saying is, he's still training. And even the guy he's fighting also, he's training daily basis. Mike Tyson cannot stand and say, I now have this one pack. But in last 25 years, I used to be the best in the world. Last 30 years, I used to be the best. So souls, when you don't train, even some of my best sales people, when they are not training, just a role play with them, I can tell that they're not training. Even if you look at public speaking as well, probably if you're going to watch and hear my first videos, there are a lot of there are a lot of ahs, but because you're practicing it daily basis,
you get better.
You get better. So that's the biggest mistake, whereby people take a casual approach to just say, I'm a salesperson because I once sold A, B, C, D. It doesn't work that way. Sales is something which you're supposed to be training. Approach sales like you're approaching football. You're approaching basketball. You're approaching sports. That's what sales is. Why is it like that? Sales, you're dealing with human beings. Human beings we are complicated creatures, even more complicated than computers themselves.
Absolutely.
We change attitude. Sometimes the person you think is a friend, he can show you next day that they're not a friend. So the person you think that is about to buy, tomorrow just wakes up and change goalposts. Human beings, they've got all sorts of complex lies. They can lie. They can tell you that, no. The reason why I'm not buying today is because my kid is sick. Boom. Already.
Suddenly you feel pity
for them. You sympathize with them instead of empathizing. Boom. So it's gone. So you need to continue practicing to say, okay, fine. If someone says this, it means this. If someone says this, it means this. If someone does this, because imagine when you're fighting boxing, that's why those guys, they always practice, because you never know how they're going to punch you. You never know how much speed they're going to be pushing. You get what I mean? So all that now, it's a biggest mistake which most of the sales people make. They think that if I attend Jerry's seminar one day, I'm not a salesman. That's the biggest lie. You become a salesman after taking what Jerry said. Probably Jerry has just amplified that fire in you. Then you go out and start practicing. Go out and start seeking for other videos on YouTube for other sales gurus who are out there. That's the only way you can be a better salesperson.
So it's by practice and not just theorizing.
It's not theory. Absolutely. You can never get into a school and say, you can know the definitions. You can know all the tricks on paper. But so long if you don't know how to apply it,
then you'll be stuck. Okay, great. Let's move on to another mistake that our salespeople are making out there.
I think the other one, which I just mentioned as I was explaining the training, to treat, to empathize, to sympathize instead of empathizing. So what I'm saying is, let's say someone you're supposed to get into the customer's shoes and actually feel like, let's give an example. Someone wants to sell you, or probably it's a funeral policy. Then whilst they are in the closing stage, then you just say, I was just involved in an accident. You know what I mean? Then they'll say, I'm very sorry about the accident. For sure, this is a challenge and everything. So someone is sympathizing. So if they sympathize, they are never going to what? If they sympathize, do you know what is going to happen? They will leave, they walk away, thinking that you don't have money because you're involved in an accident.
Yes.
But if someone is empathizing now, they'll start asking, okay, I'm very sorry about that. Then they'll comfort you from what you've actually said. But they'll continue pushing for themselves. Because an accident and you getting a funeral cover, I think when you actually got involved in an accident, you now even qualified even much better.
It even
because
opens
you now
up your
know
eyes to
exactly
to the fact that you could have died.
Exactly.
And without a policy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So by empathizing, we're just saying, yes, as much as you feel for the customer, but don't get in those shoes now and even start crying with the customer. You see?
Yeah.
So you say, yes, I understand. I completely understand your problem. But it's not my problem. And it's never going to determine whether you're going to buy today or not. This is what sales is. So if they should learn to empathize, not to sympathize. Most of them right now, if someone says, you call them today, they're driving. Then you see, someone is driving, but you call them. They answer. And they tell you, when they just hear that it's Steve, then they say, sorry, I'm driving. I'll call you after 1 hour. Do you know what salespeople do? They'll say, I'm very sorry to say. I'm very sorry to say. I'll call after 1 hour. What have you done? You've sympathized. You didn't empathize. Because why? This guy knew that he was driving. So why did he answer your call when he knew already that he was driving?
Okay, very interesting.
He's not able to proceed with your call because of you. Because you're a salesperson.
I'm trying to sell them something.
Yeah. So it's
like,
not.
I'm driving.
Or it's always, sorry, I'm in a meeting. That's a big lie. If they were in a meeting, they were never going to even answer the call. If they were really busy, they were never even going to answer the call. But it's because they've heard that is Jerry, they will not say, sorry, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you back. And when you sympathize now, you're going to say, I'm very sorry for disturbance. But when you empathize, you just say, that's okay, say. I completely understand that you're in a meeting, but can you just have 30 seconds of your time? Well, this guy has already picked up a call in a meeting. So it means if it was important, he was going to continue with the meeting.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And then do you have one more to throw in the basket before we call it?
There are plenty of them.
Yeah.
We can write a book of mistakes which most of the sales people do.
Absolutely. So if you want the comprehensive list of all the mistakes that
So-
sales people are making, come to the sales institution. That's where
Yeah.
you get to learn it comprehensively. But maybe before we wrap up, just throw in one more in the mix.
The other thing is to not to feed like your pipeline. Like if you look at it right now, we are in a economy which is difficult. I can say Africa is difficult to operate from, especially when you're operating in Zimbabwe, probably Zambia, other countries which are out there. But let's take a look at Zimbabwe, whereby the cake is shrinking every day. Things are getting hard and hard for other companies. You want to sell to B2B. You want to sell to individuals. Individuals are losing money every day. The biggest mistake is not to prospect every day. By prospecting and just looking for customers. So if you don't look for customers, definitely your business is going to shrink. So the biggest mistake which most of the companies also do is to rely just on one or on a percentage of customers. Let's say you are supplying the government. The government becomes only one customer. Because when I'm looking at it, probably let's say you are in the business of selling space to government, then it becomes your only customer. Probably you're selling to different departments from the government to the government, but when you're selling to these departments, when government is going to make one decision, or if you are blacklisted with the government,
You are done for.
it means you're done for good. Why? And because people, they're comfortable, they want to say, I've got my 20 customers, I've got my 100 customers, they'll keep on coming. But remember, you're operating from a economy which is difficult. These customers, they'll get out of business, and you stay with 20, 10, 5, 0. So the idea of prospecting is for you to keep on replacing the customers or growing your customer portfolio. I would rather run a business which is making few dollars coming from 1,000 customers than running a business which is bringing thousands coming from 2 customers.
2 customers, yeah.
Because these 2 customers can hold me hostage. So I would rather blow up my pipeline, have plenty of them. So even also customers, when they start following up also, remember, someone who's got a pipeline or who is chasing after 5,000 customers is different from someone who is chasing 2 customers. You sound desperate. But someone who is chasing 5,000 is spoiled for choice. Because he calls this customer today, you call him on Friday. He calls high priorities. He's keeping on adding customers. So when you want to sell, remember to do the hard thing. Prospecting for business by cold calling, attending network events, get referrals, do also getting from power bases, friends, family, everything. This is what you actually need. So these are some of the few mistakes which you can make as a salesperson.
You know, as you were speaking about this one last point, I literally know 2 kinds of businesses operating in Zimbabwe right now that are being held ransom by relying on one client. So the first one, it's somebody who converted an extra property into something like a lodge or hotel, something like that. Their biggest customer is this one rich guy who comes. Let me explain the background of the story. So this guy is cheating on his wife, and he cannot just go to any ordinary place because they will probably report him. He's a famous guy.
Exactly.
So what does he do? He block books the whole place for the weekend so that he can come and cheat on his wife. So now imagine, so the entire business is centered on that one client.
During weekends, no one is supposed to come.
Yes, it's block booked. So now tell me what happens if the guy finally decides to be faithful to his wife.
It's dead.
They're out of business. Then I know another one. There's a car rental that has got very expensive vehicles that are way out of reach for the ordinary citizen. So their biggest customer is the government. I remember the government is CMED. I'm just thinking what will happen to their business if their biggest customer is the government decides to use the
also
fleet
buy
from CMED. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. The mistakes that are causing your sales to slow down, or the reason why you haven't been realizing a higher turnover from your sales team in terms of the revenue coming in. We said one, it's the inability to ask questions, not knowing your customer. Then the second thing is over sympathizing with the customer instead of empathizing with the customer. Then the third one is the lack of training, treating sales like it's just some random activity that you can wake up and voila, you now know. You need to exercise your sales muscles. And then the last one is the over-reliance on one customer, which comes on from not building your pipeline with a good number of customers. And there will be more shared if you join the Sales Institution. I'm sure the numbers are popping up somewhere. You can inquire when the next enrollment begins, and then you can also be part of that extensive and personalized training program for all the aspiring sales people there. And also, what else do we have going on? We've got the $100 bill, yes. At the end of the month, if you are engaging with our comments and asking questions in the podcast, in the comment section for YouTube and the other social media platforms, then you also stand a chance to win the $100 bill. And no, we are not bribing you. We are stimulating the conversation so that we can develop and grow as a country and as a people. Otherwise, from me to you, sign out.